Thank you. So that I know there's quite a few people who've been watching on the replays, so we'll get that going. But yeah, welcome. Thank you for joining us this week on Best Year Ever. So I'm Tony. Ian.
I'm Ian.
You were supposed to be like the two Ronnies. Like, here comes Stuart. Right, I'm going to just put the slides on share. So for those of you who haven't been with us before, we're going to do an introduction. We're on, I think we're week 5, but this is a 13-week rolling series, so it doesn't matter what week you actually start on. And I'm just going, I've shared the wrong slides, sorry. This is good. I can't even get the right slides up. There we go. Right, everyone see them all right?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so this week is all about confidence 101. And it's about breaking through limiting beliefs, creating indestructible trust in yourself. So if you haven't seen us before, we are Tony and Ian. So I am a business and leadership personal growth mentor. I've been working with small businesses now for 30 plus years, helping them to start, develop and grow. Ian, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, very quickly, I'm an ex-banker, mainly dealing in business and corporate finance, and left banking in 2010, set up my own 7-figure business, which I ran for about 6-7 years, which I sold in 2019.
Fabulous.
And that was a commercial finance brokerage.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, and together we are Expert Growth Services. Yeah, so today's objective is, actually we normally do 10 big ideas, but you're getting a bonus one today. So it's 11 big ideas to help you trust and create indestructible trust in yourself, so you can build, optimize and actualize you and your businesses. So if you haven't been with us before, just drop, well, all of you can just drop your information in the chat. Who are you? Where are you from? Your Cilla Black moment. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And why are you here? What made you, what encouraged you to book? We will try and keep our eye on the chat, but we obviously only have an hour, but ideally we will run through the big ideas and then we'll have some time for questions and answers if you would like to. So we'll jump straight in. Big idea number 1. So confidence, really, just to go back a bit, is confidence is actually the pathway of that word is from the ancient Latin, and it actually means intense trust in yourself. So that's why we call it intense trust. And there's kind of a macro level and a micro level of trust that we have. So in the macro level, it's trusting that we will cope with whatever life throws at us, and having that confidence that we'll be able to bounce back from it and do what it is that we need to do. But then there's also the micro level, that in the moment to moment, as things happen, that we trust that we can come up with the right answer, do the right thing and move forward. And so the 10 big ideas that we're going to share with you today, and the bonus one, is about how do we think about developing that fierce trust in ourselves. Because we can all get knocked back, we can all think, maybe stuff's not going the way we would really like it to. Life throws, I always like to say that when we're moving towards our sort of biggest goals and working towards our purpose, we don't sidestep lizards, we have to fight dragons. Stuff gets thrown in our way, and the more and more we try to do, the more and more bigger problems we might have to face, but also the micro problems on the way. So this is about giving you some ideas, some thoughts around what you can do to sort of develop the confidence in yourself and build that sort of trust that you are going to be able to deal with whatever's happening, that you've got this really. So the kind of idea, number one, is about self-efficacy. So you believing that you can create whatever it is that you want in life, believing that you can do it and trusting that you can handle the challenges that are being thrown at you. So if you believe that, you are more likely to achieve it. So it's kind of like that dream, believe, achieve statement that you see all over, posted in these confidence boosting posts and things that you can see. So self-efficacy, do you believe that something will happen? Have you got the trust that it will do? And can you put the plan in place to make it happen? Okay. So big idea number 2 then, Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Right, big idea number 2 sort of leads on from that. Science of hope, and that's really, it's not all about sort of fantasizing about your ideal future and daydreaming about everything being perfect, because we all know, being realistic, that's never going to happen. And we need, as it says there, we need to be setting meaningful goals, and along the way, there's always going to be obstacles that are going to be challenging. I mean, there's three really components to this science of hope, and the first of all is to have hope, and you need to have goals that are going to fire you up, and targets that you want to achieve, and obviously that gives you a start. If we talked the other week about micro goals as well, and the fact that these are really stepping stones to what you want to achieve. And as we're achieving those micro goals, obviously that's given us confidence to get to the end where we want to be. The second of these components is what we call a sense of agency. That's really control that you're in control of your life and what you want to achieve, and you've got the ability really to handle all those tasks and situations that are going to come up in a normal working day. We also talk about pathways, and really a hopeful person will always have a lot of sort of different pathways. You might, and I talked about the micro goals. I mean, we might start off and say, right, this is my plan. This is what I want to get from A to B. Something will happen along the way, and I think we've got to be confident that we can sort of move away from plan A, and if we have to move on to plan B, so be it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. So it's really just making sure that we understand where we are, where we want to get to, and have the confidence from achieving that with the goals and the targets that we're setting ourselves, and that journey. So that's number 2.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just if Hannah, Julia, and Roy, you've introduced yourself, so thank you for that. Roy's from Sussex charity. Boss needs a confidence boost. Julia, massage and makeup, based in Slaybridge, Hyde, Thameside. I always say Thameside, which is London, I know. Thameside. I'm here because I'm determined to raise my business and expand and launch it into larger formats. That's great. Hannah, welcome as well. Please let us know in the chat who you are, where you come from, and what you're here for. So I'll move on to big idea number 3. So this is all about, now we do cover this. Now, sometimes we repeat ourselves, and that is for a reason, because these things, these tools, these thoughts and sort of ideas and tips really, nothing's really new, but these are sort of foundation levels, and sometimes we need to hear them many times before we actually soak it up and think about, well, what does that actually mean for me? And I'm all about getting into action. So if you know me, I'm all about getting into action. And so we do repeat some of the stuff because it's on purpose. Okay, so this is the identity, actions, feelings. This comes from the work of Eric Greetings, who wrote a brilliant book called Resilience, and he did some research about seeing particularly people that had been through war and sort of really adversarial events. And he saw that their feelings drove the show. So, you know, even especially when they'd had like bad accidents, or, you know, they'd lost their legs or their limbs in bombs and things, that they started to feel sorry for themselves, which, you know, why wouldn't they? We all would, wouldn't we? But what then happens is our feelings drive the show, and then that leads to what we do or don't do. And quite often it means that we don't take action. We get stuck in just feeling, and we kind of ruminate over those feelings. And then it means we don't get into action. And the ancient Greeks said our identity is what we repeatedly do. So if we get stuck in not taking action, in being driven by our feelings, and this can be as simple as, you know, you might have set yourself a goal to lose weight or to start exercising after Christmas. It's always a good time to talk about this, because February is where our goals around that go to die, because we generally haven't done anything about it. We haven't got into action, but it's because we don't concentrate on the identity, like who is it we want to be? Who is it that we want to show up as? So if we let our feelings drive the show, you know, we won't get out of bed and maybe go for a run in the morning. We won't stop ourselves from eating that chocolate because we're going, well, I really feel like a bit of chocolate. I've had a bad day and I'm just going to have a bit of chocolate. So if we orient ourselves around who is it we want to be, who is it we want to show up as, then we are more likely to put in place the actions that version of us really needs, rather than being driven by our feelings. And our feelings are better when we are driven by that identity. So who is it that you want to show up as? You know, what does the best version of you look like? I like to have my alter ego version of me. Like, so what is the best version of me? It's my alter ego. And I have shared this many times with people and on social media. It's like, so I have an alter ego around energy, and that is the Zen warrior goddess. And so I focus on what she would do in terms of actions. And then if I take those actions as if I was her, then actually I feel better. So your actions shape who you are. So your repeated beingness is your identity. So it starts with getting into action. Do the thing and the feelings will follow. So what are your things that you should be doing? Who is your alter ego? What does the best version of you look like? Put it in the chat. I want to hear or see. Right, Ian, number 4.
Okay, thank you. Right, this is about activating yourself. We're going to start off with a bit of a chemistry lesson here. Now, if we need to boil water, obviously that water will boil at 212 degrees. If you want to create fire, you need to be getting up to 451 degrees. Now, if we sort of take an example of that, let's say, for example, you're camping and you want to make a campfire and you start rubbing the 2 sticks together. You can just go rub, and the problem with that is that if you get to 350 degrees, you're not going to get any activation of fire. You've got to get to 451 degrees. Now, I mean, that's really all about where we want to be. If we want to activate ourselves and create the energy, we know personally where we have to get to, and we're all different. We might have different levels of creating that fire, but we need to know where we need to be. There's a guy called Orison Swett Marden who talks about the fact that nothing runs on tepid water. So, for example, if you're going to make a great cup of tea, you're going to need to boil your water. you would not sort of half boil your kettle and expect to have a nice cup of tea. So that's just another example of where we need to get to. If you want to have a great life, we need that fire to be intense. We need to be intense to achieve what we want to achieve. We also need a sense of urgency. Now, okay, that's not going to happen all the time. It's very difficult, perhaps in a 7 or 8 working hour day, to think, right, okay, well, I'm going to have all this energy, and there will be moments when perhaps you might take half hour out, but it's just knowing, really, we come back to what we're talking about over the last few weeks about these goals and our journey, and the fact that that energy and what we want to achieve in life, whether it be our personal life or our business life, really it's what energy do we need to actually achieve that. I've got nothing else to say on that, I don't think, Tony, really.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so how activated are you? I like the example of, I think it's like Nietzsche said, if you got the energy, if you're on fire about a goal or an idea or something that you're going after, you need to chase it like a man whose hair's on fire chases a pond. You know,
Yes.
how much energy would you have behind that? I like to think of that. Hannah, nice to meet you. Hannah is a psychotherapist from the Ukraine, now the founder of Step to Empower, community interest company to help Ukrainians with adaptation and integration. Oh, that's amazing. And you're in, whereabouts are you? I've lost it. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Hannah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I imagine it's well needed, well needed. And some of this stuff, great for your clients. So this, I really like this, the Stockdale paradox. So there's a guy called James Stockdale. He was a veteran of the Vietnam War, and he was in the prison camps. And he's come up with this thing called the Stockdale paradox, which is about knowing that something is possible, and also knowing it's going to be hard, actually really helps build confidence and helps you sort of get the staying power. And it's very similar to one of the other tools that we share called Whoop, which is from Gabriella Oettingen, who talks about the successful people in any walk of life, whoever that is, and this was her research, when they had a big idea or a big goal, the thing that kept them going was and made them successful was the fact she called it, rubbed it up against reality and realized that, you know, this isn't necessarily going to be easy. Nothing's going to be easy. And what James Stockdale found, and he was looking at people who survived in the prison camps in Vietnam, were the ones that survived were the ones who had absolute hope. So the goal that they were going to get out, the agency, the belief that it was going to be possible, but also that they realized it wasn't going to be easy. And like, I can't, you know, none of us want to even imagine it, you know, that can't have been easy. And when he looked at the survival, the ones that had this belief that was going to be possible, but knowing that it was going to be hard, were the ones that survived. The ones that didn't, and there were many people who had hope, but only part of it. You know, they were hopeful that they would survive, but they never thought about what they were going to have to deal with, the things that were going to get in their way. So, you know, they'd say, oh, well, we'll be out by Christmas. And then they weren't. And then they go, well, okay, we'll be out by Easter. And then they weren't. Okay, we'll be out by Thanksgiving. And then they weren't. And those are the ones that actually gave up. And they were the ones that did not survive, because they didn't have within them the view about what was going to make it hard, but it doesn't mean it's going to be impossible. So we can achieve anything, but the fact that we try and do it just by positive thinking is not going to work. So we need to balance that optimism, but also with a bit of realism. Is this ain't going to be easy, and especially if we're going after something big, and quite exciting. It's you know, nothing's going to be easy, and quite often, most times our initial plans aren't the ones that actually get us to where we want to get to. We've got to be prepared to have plan A to Z or AA to ZZ and be on it and be prepared to have that balance and that flexibility to, you know, move around, overcome obstacles. And the more we know about those obstacles, the more we can think about, okay, it's not going to be easy, so what's going to get in my way? Being able to look at that, you can then say, well, if this happens, then I'm going to do this. And if that happens, then I'm going to do that. And recognizing that it's not going to be easy all the time actually builds our confidence. Thinking it's going to be easy, thinking that we can just positively think our way through things, you know, that's hard. And that takes a lot of willpower. And we don't have an infinite amount of willpower. Willpower, you know, can come and go, and it wanes, especially if we lack energy. So knowing that things are going to be difficult and thinking about what those challenges might be actually help us to deal with them and help us to be much more robust in our sort of thinking and our approach. Oh, and that links to number 6, Ian.
Right, anti-fragile. We talked about this last week. So if we talk about the wind does something very interesting. It'll extinguish a candle, but yet it fuels a fire. Anti-fragile basically means that if we have a candle power and something challenging happens to us, we're going to get extinguished. We're going to get blown out. So we need that power, as I was saying earlier, we need that power of fire really just to challenge and actually fuel our growth and our energy. There's a guy called Stephen Carter, American author, who said that when it comes to this, he made the comment, no pressure, no diamonds. So, I mean, basically, yeah, we are going to have that pressure, and to achieve that pressure, you know, we'll get our rewards. And then, I mean, we talked about the anti-fragile sticker last week, and if you look at yourselves and imagine your parcel being posted, I mean, there's 3 stickers that you can have on you. You can have fragile, which means, well, you know, don't chuck me around because I'm going to break. Or you can have robust, which is going to be, well, yeah, I might be okay, but just handle me with a little bit of care. Or you can have the anti-fragile, that basically means, look, I'm there, I'm on it, I shouldn't break, and you're having a mindset really that, as it says on the slide there, you're going to thrive under pressure. And then we talk about those obstacles that Tony talked about in the last big idea. We are going to have obstacles. They are going to get in our way, and they can be challenging, but they can also be excellent for just fueling that growth and those goals that we want to achieve. There's also, I always use this also with the anti-fragile and confidence, and I tell this story sometimes. And I used to play golf at quite a reasonable level, and problem I had sometimes, I lacked confidence. Now I used to have lessons with a golf pro, but I also had 3 or 4 lessons, would you believe, with a psychologist. And basically, what they said to me, this all revolved around focus and confidence. You hit your ball off, for those of you who play golf or know about golf, you hit your ball off the tee, hopefully you're in the middle of the fairway, and then you start walking towards your tee and towards your ball, and all you're thinking about is my second shot, I'm onto the green, what's the hazards, how many bunkers have I got? So you're working all that out and your mind's all over the place. And then what taught me something, and I use this in work as well, it's called the inner circle. And that inner circle with golf was a circle 3 foot diameter around the ball. And as soon as you step into that circle, everything else, all those obstacles, all those things that you think are going to get in the way, you forget. You have to forget. And all you're focusing on is hitting that ball. If you look at business, all you're focusing on is achieving that goal. And my goal there within that inner circle was to get that ball on the green as close to the pin as possible. So I use that a lot when it comes to I'm not playing golf now, but I use that a lot in business as well. And it's just important just to switch off from everything that's going on around you and just focus on what your goal or your aim is for that day or for that hour or for that morning, or for that next 3 months, whatever it might be. So, but yeah, always think about what sticker am I wearing today? And when it says anti-fragile or fragile, it doesn't mean you've gone out and had a load of alcohol the night before. It's your mindset. But yeah, always just think about that.
Yeah. And I love the little mantra that goes with that. OMMS, obstacles make me stronger. Or OLMMS, obstacles literally make me stronger. Okay, so yeah, so actually probably links back to golf or sporting analogies. A lot of these do, don't they?
Yeah.
Confidence is a cycle. And the key thing about this is like we need to rehearse it, let it rip, and then reload. So like we rehearse, we practice, use Ian's golfing analogy. I've never played golf in my life apart from crazy golf. But yeah, you rehearse, you practice, you might train a bit, you'll get into action around things and you just do it. I'm a bit like that. Like I spoke at a conference yesterday and I haven't done it for a little while. And I'm like, oh my God, if you're not a little bit nervous, then I'll worry about that. And I was a bit nervous and I was thinking, do you know what? I've rehearsed this kind of session that I did probably a million times actually. I've delivered it many times. I've delivered the material many times. I knew some of the people in the room. And I thought, well, do you know what? I just need to get up and do it. I've done all the rehearsing, all the practicing that I could do. And then I just need to stand up and let it rip. Just do it. And the key thing about that is then you're prepared. You're getting into action, and then you just deliver. And then what you need to do after that is to kind of reload and think, well, okay, how did I do? And it's not about beating yourself up. It's about, kind of reviewing what went well with what I've just done. Could I have done what could I have done maybe differently, better? And then adjust as needed. So there were some little things that I would change from what I did. And every time I do that, I just get that little bit better. And it kind of gets rid of some of that worry or that lack of confidence. Like I say, when you're going into something big, if you haven't got a bit of nerves and a bit of butterflies, then actually you're probably just being a bit blasé and you're probably not going to deliver well. So I always have a little bit of fear, a little bit of nerves, but at that point, another thing that I love to do, like with the confidence thing, and we talked about this last week as well, is say bring it on, because it's using that sort of fear or nerves as fuel for growth. Like bring it on because I'm going to do this, and I know that whatever happens, I've done my best, I've prepared my best, and I can review and I can improve a little bit step by step. So, knowing that I'm prepared, taking action, and then adjust as needed. But the key thing is actually getting into action and taking that action. So many of us will say, I don't feel very confident. And it could be in all sorts of different situations. The key thing is that the only way we build confidence is by getting into action and doing something, even if you've never done it before. We can't wait to be confident because we won't be confident without doing it. So it is about taking the action, which is why I like to bang on about taking action. But yeah, rehearse, let it rip, reload.
Okay, number 8. Dacia, simplify, finish, repeat. Now, Dacia actually means to cut the root of the word decide. I think people with a lot of doubt don't like making decisions, whether it be in your personal life or your business life. And yeah, making decisions can take a bit of courage. You need to trust yourself when you make these decisions. Is it the right decision? And as I said earlier, when we set plans might change. And at times, yeah, you're going to sacrifice things when you make decisions. But as long as you're comfortable with what you're achieving or what you are expecting, that's fine. I mean, there's a guy called George Saint Pierre, who was one of the world's greatest mixed martial arts fighters, and he decided that he was going to be the best in the world. And so he said, right, okay, I've created that vision. How am I going to change my life? How am I going to train to achieve that? So he decided that he wouldn't be partying on a Friday night, wouldn't be partying during the week. He set himself this task. He made those personal decisions to achieve what he wanted to achieve. This goes for us as well. I mean, it's just a matter of really having a high level of trust, remove those distractions, and just make that decision and just concentrate where you want to, where you are, where you're going, and where you want to get to. Mike Tyson used to say that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, things can get hard and things will get harder, and we can get overwhelmed by things. So it's just really matter of trying to simplify the best we can. And I mean, look at them as dominoes, really. And you know, you're gonna hit these obstacles and these distractions and just knock them down and just move on. Just think, okay, this is the next thing I've got to do. And it's just a matter of just keeping everything really as simple as possible. So as it says there, you know, simplify, finish, and repeat if you have to repeat.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying, that kind of that circle in of like 3 foot around you or the ball or whatever you're wherever you are. It's like if you were an archer and you were at war and you just tried to fire off your bow and arrow across everything, you're not going to really achieve anything. So you need to sort of like find that focus, and just focus on that. And it's so easy to get that distraction. You know, the world is throwing distractions at us, you know, left, right, and centre. You know, if you've got your phone anywhere near you, you'll be seeing, even now, I'm sure, you know, Facebook telling you someone's posted that you haven't seen for a little while, or you know, trying to get you detracted from what it is that you really want to be doing, or we really ought to be doing, and we can get focused on something else and go down a bloody rabbit hole before we know it. So you know, that ultimate focus, that laser focus with your magnifying glass and or your 3 foot focus for golf.
I mean, that's interesting because that 3 foot thing really about removing distractions. This person, this psychologist, was a woman, and it doesn't matter what sex she was actually, but she was a woman, but she never played golf in her life. And the biggest thing is that once you stepped into that inner circle, was not to step out again until you hit the ball. So you mentally had to remove all those distractions that were going on around you.
And it's almost like a protocol, like what are your protocols? How do you get back on what it is that you need to get back on? And it is another golfing analogy, and I can't remember which golfer it was, but he was being coached by a guy called Lanny Basham, and he gets them to focus on their protocol. So you're in that zone, or you're trying to focus. You go, right, okay, what are the things that I do? With golf, you have to stand a certain way, you have to hold your grips a certain way, so making sure all your protocols are in place. And doing them inch by inch. And so he was working with a guy who was doing the America's Cup or something like that. He'd been working with him, and all he did was just work your protocol like we do when we train. And then he took his last shot, and it went in. Everyone come running up to him, and his wife come up running up to him and gave him a big hug. And he said, "Did I win?" And he just won like millions of pounds because he had won, but he was so focused on his protocols that and so focused on that simplicity of that he didn't even realize that he just put the winning shot. So did I win? I love that. It'd be brilliant. Okay, so yeah, another idea comes from the Odysseus. So stop signs, sirens, and panic buttons. And there's some really good stories here. So it's like learning to spot what your triggers are. What is it that's triggering you that, takes you off what it is that you're trying to do, that turns you into, maybe spirals you a little bit. What might those triggers be? Identify situations that trigger self-doubt. So again, probably while you're hearing this stuff, you might then be more aware of it, like when back in your business or back in your life, what situations are you in where you go, actually that's triggered me a little bit, I'm really feeling a little bit doubtful. Sometimes it's situations, sometimes it's people, sometimes it's the fact that you've gone outside and you are looking on social media and you're comparing yourself with other people, and that comparison can trigger us and mean that we don't move forward. Other times it could be thoughts and situations that also trigger you, and sort of awareness is the first step to overcoming them. And the story from the Odysseus is that when he was traveling back and kind of getting on his boat to travel back with all his sailors, apparently he was visited by a goddess who said, you're going to be visited by the sirens who are going to try and stop you. And what she said though was, each of those sirens sings a song to you. So what song is being sung to you that is actually going to, you need to stop listening to? So when Odysseus got on his ship, he actually tied himself to the mast, but he told all of his crew, look, you are going to be visited by sirens. They are going to sing to you. They're going to sing the song that makes you, get distracted, that's going to stop you getting back. I think they were going back to Athens, weren't they? You're going to stop you getting back. They're going to try and distract us. So apparently all of the crew and shipmates actually put beeswax in their ears so that they couldn't hear the sirens singing to them. So like, what is it that actually gets in our way? And then, like what might be signs that get us to stop and hit the panic button and go, oh, actually, I'm not going to do that. It's too scary. I'm feeling a bit vulnerable, or I don't know if I can do that. NASA is a good example here. Is they train their astronauts to recognize the things that are going to go wrong, and practice with the little things, so that when the big things go wrong, they've got a protocol. They know what's going to happen. So I can't remember the name of the guy, but it was the first American astronaut to go into space.
John Glenn.
John Glenn, yeah, that's it. And so he went into space. Now, I can't imagine what that must be like. So exciting, the heart, jumps out your chest. But his heart rate never went above 100 beats a minute. They're that trained on dealing with, whatever is going on, that for other people, normal people, would actually really trigger you and press the panic button. So NASA trained you to actually deal with lots and lots of issues and things going wrong. And I don't know if any of you have seen some of the programs. There's loads of programs about what sort of NASA training, they put you into really crappy, awful situations where everything goes wrong. And no one's going to press the panic button because actually you're just going to die. We've probably all seen Apollo 13, loads, it's never one thing that goes wrong, is it? And it's never that thing that's gone wrong that is actually the cause of the thing that's gone wrong. So, making sure we don't hit the panic button, we don't let the sirens get to us, we don't let that social media comparison stuff get to us. We're really focusing on where it is we need to go and the protocols that we need to put in place to make sure that we're just step by step, inch by inch, 1% by 1%, getting better each day, getting into action so that we build our confidence. And before we know it, we're doing things that we never done before. That sort of area of our comfort zone has grown. And that only grows, we said this last week, by getting into the area of discomfort without the panic buttons. So number 10, Ben.
Number 10, focusing on solutions, not problems. Right, okay, solutions are us. Now you can call this your sort of new corporate identity. And are you a champion or are you a non-champion? Champions, I always think, are sort of relentlessly solution focused. But if we're a non-champion, what we're going to do, we're going to be victims. We're going to be thinking all along, what's wrong with my life? We'll moan, we'll criticize, we'll blame. I did some work for a business about 18 months ago, and it was quite a good business. But the biggest problem with this guy, he never took ownership, and everything was everyone else's fault. He always blamed everyone else. And I said to him one day, why won't you blame yourself? You made that decision. Well, it's not me, it's them. I said, no, it's not, it's you. And you have to learn that it's very negative, and we talked about this energy. If you're going to start sort of moaning and criticizing and complaining about everyone else, it's their fault, it's not my fault, you haven't got a chance. And they're just moving on from that. I mean, talk about solutions and how we can deal with certain events that happen. There were 2 US Navy SEALs who served in Iraq, and they were training some of the Marines or wherever they were. And one of the training exercises was that there are two teams in boats, and they had to get from A to B, jump out in the freezing cold water, get back in again, and row back. Now, obviously, one team won, and all the others who finished second were moaning, and the leader was moaning. And then what they decided to swap, and they realised that what it all came down to was actually the leadership skills, and the fact that really it was that leader. Doesn't matter who's in your team, it does to a certain extent, but if you've got a good leader behind you, that will make all the difference. If that leader's got the solutions to the problems. I also sort of look back and think of, I'm going to refer to football now, Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, you can say how many good football managers are there. A football manager is a football manager. He stands on the touchline. He coaches them in the week, but once they get out there, there's nothing he can do. He's out of complete control. And I think where Ferguson was good as a leader, the fact that he would always come up with solutions or problems during a game. But the biggest thing he had was respect. He had respect for his players, but his players had respect for him. And I think that was one of the biggest reasons why not just he, but why Man United was such a successful team. So, you know, just think about it. If you're leading a team, if you've got your own business, you can have people underneath you. It's really always focus on what you want to achieve. But when you've got those problems, just sort of step up to the mark, I think, and just show your team that you know you're not moaning, because it's just doesn't do the vibes within the business any good at all. And you know, and if you feel like you've got those negative moments, just take 60 seconds out. Just think, right, okay, let me have a moan to myself under my breath, 60 seconds, and then wipe the slate clean, and then just get on with what you've got to do.
Yeah, there's a really good, and we shared this last week, but I think it's important, is when you're in that kind of zone where you actually thinking or realizing that either you or everyone else around you is just like moaning and groaning and focusing on the problem and not the solution, is to ask the questions like, so what is it we actually want? What is it that we want? Okay, so what's important next for us to do? Because it flips you out of that sort of spiraling down, because that's all you do when you focus on the problems and, you know, there's whinging and groaning going on, even if that's just you in your own head, or is that just me? And you just spiraling down all the time. So what you need to do is flip the switch to take you out of that and go, okay, so what is it I want? And therefore, what is it I need to do next? And that's even the smallest little step. Because otherwise, if we're not careful, we ruminate on those things. Which is, I don't know if you know this, but this is what cows do when they eat grass. They eat grass, they swallow it, they regurgitate it, they eat it again, and they swallow it, and then and that's what rumination is. So, you know, we're basically thinking of these negative, you know, moaning, groaning, whatever that is, and then we're kind of swallowing it down, and then we're bringing it back up again and doing it again and again and again. So we need to like click us out of the cycle. So those two questions, is what do I want, what needs to get done, is the way to sort of hop yourself out of that really quickly. So if some of this is like really ringing true to you, and you knowing that actually the freedom that I want to make the decisions that I need to work on the business, not in it, to, you know, really get the team around you that needs to be working on the things that you shouldn't be doing, then we can help you to think about how is that working for you, with our free business health check. So it's an hour with us, totally free, where we'll help you to identify, you know, what are those things that are slipping through the cracks, that are holding you back, and we'll help you put in place a plan to get back on track to where you want to get to. So Tyee is going to put the link for this in the chat, and we'll put it up again at the end. So if you want to book that, Ian and I have freed up some slots for next week. There's only a few, so if you want to do that, then please hop on and do that. And now I'll share with you again, it's sort of similar idea to some of the stuff that we talked about last week in anti-fragile, in terms of the barbell strategy. You know, we don't go to the gym to lift styrofoam weights. You know, we go to the gym to build, you know, our muscles. And the way we build our muscles is to break them down a bit in order to build them back up again. So we go into a situation where we push ourselves a little bit more, where we, you know, so confidence is a muscle, and we really need to stretch and challenge it. And you know, the more we do that, the more confident we get. And as I said, we step outside of our comfort zone, we'd actually build a bit more confidence muscle. We can then step outside of that zone again and again and again and again. And the more we stretch, the stronger we get. So it's like keep putting ourselves into that comfort zone, discomfort zone. Let's get used to the discomfort of feeling discomfort, because the more we do that, the more we will build our confidence, the more that zone gets bigger. And also, you know, if we don't do that, actually our comfort zone shrinks. You know, and I've seen this many times with people who, you know, face something, you know, quite challenging, and what they do is they reel back from it and they won't step forward. And I've done it myself, and you find that you actually shrink and you're not getting more confident. Your confidence leaves. You know, I had that when I was in corporate. I had a situation where I went in there with full confidence into a job that I thought I was going to love, and then eventually it wore me down. The environment wore me down, and I decided that, okay, I'm not going to put myself out there anymore. Then if they want to pay me stupid money just to do what they say, then I'll do that. But what that did was I did spiral down. I literally ended up on my knees with zero confidence. I literally could not speak. I could not make a decision. And I can't tell you how many days I literally sat in my office and stared at a wall, because I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out of it. And I didn't feel confidence to get out of it either. So you actually shrink if you're not building your muscle of confidence. The same as if we don't do our sit-ups or press-ups or whatever version of exercise you like to do. You know, you only need to take a week off and you can see how much that shrinks, or you're not as fit as you were a couple of weeks ago. It goes very quickly. So what is it you can be doing every day to sort of stretch and challenge yourself to build that confidence by being in action around your goals and around the purpose that you're setting, so that you get stronger? Inch by inch is easier than yard by yard. So what's that next thing that you could be doing? And let us know in the chat what that is. Roy, yes, the corporate experience I'm sharing is very familiar. Yeah, so many of our clients have stepped out of that and set up their own business. And both of me and Ian have done that. And both of us realise it's not as easy as we thought it would be. And Jane, you said you experienced that too. It is hard. But sometimes we create that again for ourselves in our business. And we're not moving forward and we're not taking steps. And, we are reeling back and holding ourselves back from what we actually innately know we are good at doing, or we could be good at doing, or we could really make a difference and really have much more impact than we already are. And I think that that's a really big trigger for entrepreneurs. It's a really big trigger if you're a purpose-driven entrepreneur, is because we know ultimately we can do so much more, but we hold ourselves back and we get in our own way. Okay, so anyone got any questions? We've got some time if you want to jump on and ask any questions. Don't forget, if you want to book a session with us, you're very welcome to. So, Tony, I've had an amazing day yesterday, found a solution to concentration and got so much to do. Thank you for our meeting, made such a difference. Yes, thank you, Jane, for that. It's brilliant. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
I've got one, Tony. What time do you get up on a morning?
Between sort of 5:30 and 6. I kind of get up when I wake up, so I've got to the point where I don't have an alarm, because 99% of the time, I won't say it's all the time, I go to bed at 10 and I'm waking up by 5:30. And I've got myself into that habit. And I don't believe having an alarm to break your sleep at an awkward time is good for you. So I've kind of got myself that. Having said that, I just yesterday morning had a flight, so absolutely I put an alarm on to make sure I got up for that, and it was unearthly early, like 2:30 in the morning. Not my flight, the time I had to get up. But so on those occasions when I think, well, I literally do need an alarm, because if I slept through to whenever I woke up, that could on the occasion be late. And I have had moments where I haven't had my alarm on and I've woken up at 6:45 and then thought, oh my God, and now I've got to rush round. But yeah, it's quite difficult to get into that habit, but I've been doing that for years now. So even when I worked in corporate, I didn't have an alarm. I woke up when I woke up, and I always got into the office by about 7 actually.
I always find it harder in winter when it's dark.
Yes, yeah.
I think if you're stimulated, what I find, if I'm stimulated work-wise and I'm really up for it, and in that sort of bring it on mood, I have no problems getting up at all. Sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. So I found I haven't got ADHD that I know of. I'm not diagnosed with it or anything, but I found my secret yesterday, and I was telling Stuart this because we had a one-to-one yesterday. I found a playlist on Spotify called ADHD something, no words, because it's words and music I can't concentrate to. And oh my goodness, I was so productive yesterday. It was just like, wow.
Oh, that's great.
I probably got more done yesterday than I did in the whole week.
Wow. Oh, that's really good to hear, Jane.
And I'm on a mission now. I've got my list.
Yeah.
And that's because I had a meeting with you, Tony, on Monday.
Power.
I think I just needed to step out of my office and just talk it through. And yeah, so I feel really motivated now.
Yeah. But Jane, let me just clarify this. I did not tell you to do a list.
No, I know. But I had to write everything down from a meeting last week and put it in a certain order to get myself focused.
If you've got to have a list, do it in a grid so that you're concentrating. So it's the Eisenhower matrix or the Stephen Covey's.
The Stephen Covey one is the one that I've used.
4 boxes, and you've got urgent, not urgent, important, not important, and putting your things that you've got to do or you feel like you need to do into a list. So you prioritize that way rather than just having a list and going through a list, because you're not doing the things you need to do to get where you're going if you've just got a list of things to do. Easy said, not always.
Sorry, Tony. I've got to shoot, unfortunately. Nice to meet you, everyone. So I've got another meeting. I'll hopefully see you all next week.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Love to see you. Hope to see you all again next week. Have an amazing weekend. Yeah, because it is Friday this week. We're back to Thursdays next week.
Thank you. See you later.
Right, take care. Thanks. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.